Let's dive into the world of AI foundation models. These large-scale machine learning models trained on massive amounts of data. And honestly, they're already having a huge impact.
Yeah, it really feels like a potential paradigm shift. They're affecting everything from healthcare to climate change, but most of these models are coming from the US and China. So where does that leave Australia?
That is the big question, isn't it? Luckily, the CSIRO released a report in March 2024 that looks at just that Australia's role in this new AI landscape. We'll be using that report as our roadmap today, unpacking some of the fascinating insights, things like productivity boosts, potential monopolies, and the need for Australia to develop sovereign capability in AI. Intrigued? I hope so. But first, let's break down what these AI foundation models actually are. I mean, we hear the buzzwords, but what's really going on behind the scenes?
Well, imagine a child learning about the world, observing, taking in information, and starting to recognize patterns, all without someone constantly labeling everything for them. That's kind of how AI foundation models learn, through a process called self-supervision. They're trained on huge data sets without explicit instructions. They just learn to find patterns and relationships just like we do.
So they're like these super-powered pattern recognition machines, finding those hidden connections in all that data.
Precisely. And those patterns translate into some pretty amazing abilities. Take BERT, for example, developed by Google. It helps Google search understand your queries better, so you get more relevant search results.
Makes sense.
Or GPT-4, the model behind ChatGPT, developed by OpenAI. It can generate text that sounds like a human wrote it, translate languages, answer questions. Pretty remarkable.
I've definitely spent some time chatting with ChatGPT. I have to say, it can be both impressive and a little bit unnerving. So it sounds like there's a whole family of these foundation models out there, each with its own specialty.
Absolutely. And they're not limited to just text. Llama 2, developed by Meta, is a good example.
Yeah.
These models are becoming increasingly multimodal, meaning they can work with images, audio, video, even robotics. They're not just stuck in one lane anymore.
Multimodal AI, that sounds straight out of science fiction. But how did we get here? Was there one aha moment that sparked this explosion of AI foundation models?
You could say that. All goes back to a research paper published in 2017. That paper introduced transformer architecture. It's been cited thousands of times, and it really ignited the development of these models.
Okay, so there's our Big Bang moment. But give me a sense of scale here. How many of these foundation models are we talking about, and how quickly are they evolving?
Well, in 2018, there were only a handful. By 2023, that number had jumped to 77, with the majority coming from the US and China. And it's not just the number. The amount of data they're trained on is astounding. We're talking about going from billions to trillions of parameters. That's like comparing the number of stars in our galaxy to the number of grains of sand on all the beaches on Earth.
Trillions. My head is spinning. So all this brain power, all this rapid development, it's got to be having a huge impact, right? What are some of the real-world benefits we're seeing from AI foundation models?
Well, one of the most promising areas is productivity. Studies have shown that these models are making people more efficient across a wide range of fields.
Give me some specifics. How much more productive are we talking about?
Well, for instance, management consultants were found to be 40% better at their jobs when using AI. Software developers were coding 56% faster. Even customer service agents were resolving issues 14% faster, all while improving customer satisfaction.
Those are some impressive numbers. It really seems like AI foundation models could revolutionize productivity. But, and there's always a but, is it possible we're overestimating the impact of AI? Are there hidden costs or limitations we haven't fully grasped yet?
That's an important question. Economists have been discussing something called Solo's paradox. It basically asks, if technology is so transformative, why aren't we seeing even more massive economic growth? It makes you wonder if there are unseen downsides or bottlenecks that might be offsetting those productivity gains.
So the jury's still out on the full economic impact of AI foundation models. It's a complex puzzle with a lot of moving pieces. But let's shift gears a bit and talk about Australia's position in this AI-powered future. The CSIRO report we mentioned, it really emphasizes the need for what they call sovereign capability. Can you break down what that means in the context of AI foundation models?
Sure. Sovereign capability has two main dimensions. First, can Australia build and manage its own AI foundation models, given the resources and expertise required? And second, can our government effectively function and guide development if we were suddenly cut off from those overseas providers?
That second part sounds pretty crucial, especially considering most of these models are currently coming from other countries. What are some of the risks of not having that control, that lack of sovereign capability?
Well, imagine a scenario where one company, based overseas, controls the AI models. Used in, say, Australia's healthcare system, they could essentially dictate pricing,
Hmm.
potentially making these vital tools unaffordable. Or what if there's a sudden policy change or shutdown? Like what happened with Facebook News a few years back. Our access to critical AI could be disrupted overnight.
That's a sobering thought. It seems like having control over our own AI destiny is pretty important. But how do we achieve that? What are some concrete steps Australia can take to make sure we're not just passengers in this AI revolution?
That's where things get really interesting, and that's what we'll explore in the next part of our deep dive. The CSIRO report actually outlines some proactive policy options that Australia could consider.
Sounds like we have a lot more to unpack. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back to explore those policy options and see how Australia can navigate this exciting and, let's be honest, slightly unnerving AI-powered future. So before we took a moment there, we were talking about those potential risks of relying on AI foundation models developed overseas. The lack of control, the possibility of sudden disruptions. It's a lot to think about. But you mentioned that the CSIRO report offers some potential solutions, some ways for Australia to really take charge of its AI future. What are some of those proactive steps we could take?
Well, I have to say, the CSIRO report really takes a proactive stance. It's refreshing. It's not just about reacting to problems. It's about creating a thriving AI ecosystem here in Australia. One of the key things they recommend is investing in high-performance computing infrastructure, giving Australia the power to develop and train our own large-scale AI models.
So basically, building our own supercomputers to give Australian researchers and developers the tools they need to compete globally.
Exactly. And it's not just about building them. It's about making sure access to those resources is widely available, supporting universities, research institutions, even startups that are pushing the boundaries of AI. That's how we build a truly robust AI landscape.
That makes sense. If we want to be leaders in this space, we need to support our best and brightest. What other strategies does the CSIRO report suggest?
Well, another really interesting area they highlight is the development of specialized AI foundation models tailored to specific government functions. So imagine an AI model that can analyze medical images with incredible accuracy, helping doctors to diagnose diseases earlier and more effectively.
Wow, that would be incredible for healthcare. Are there other areas where these targeted AI models can make a big difference?
Absolutely. Think about climate forecasting. Imagine having AI models that can provide really localized predictions of floods, bushfires, heat waves, predictions so precise that they revolutionize disaster preparedness and response. Or AI models that optimize traffic flow in our cities, easing congestion and making roads safer. The potential is huge.
It really sounds like these specialized AI models could transform the way our government operates and delivers services. But of course, building those models is just the first step. We also need people who know how to use them effectively.
Absolutely. A skilled AI workforce is essential. And this is where the report brings up what they call the STEM paradox. Australia actually graduates a lot of STEM professionals, but we're not seeing those skills translate into the AI workforce as well as they could.
Okay, that's interesting. So why aren't those STEM graduates filling these in-demand AI roles?
That's the question, isn't it? There are a few possible explanations. Maybe there's a skills mismatch. Perhaps our education system needs to adapt to better equip graduates for the AI industry. Or maybe it's geographical barriers, preventing STEM grads from moving to where the AI jobs are, whatever the reason. Addressing the STEM paradox is crucial. If we want to build a sustainable AI ecosystem in Australia,
So investing in education and training is key. But what about the bigger picture? The global landscape? Is there a role for international collaboration? Could working with other countries help Australia accelerate its progress in AI?
I think international collaboration is definitely valuable. It allows countries to share knowledge, pool resources, learn from each other's experiences. But of course, the challenge is finding the right balance between embracing collaboration and making sure we don't become too reliant on others.
Right. We don't want to undermine those efforts to build sovereign capability that we were just talking about. So it seems like Australia has a lot of different options on the table. Investing in infrastructure, developing targeted AI models, growing our STEM talent pool, and collaborating strategically with other countries. But there's one more crucial aspect we need to discuss.
Yeah, I think I know where you're going with this. The ethical side of AI.
Exactly. It's all well and good to talk about the amazing potential of AI, but we can't ignore the potential downsides. We've already seen examples of AI being used in ways that are, well, less than ideal. How do we make sure these powerful tools are developed and used responsibly, that they actually benefit society as a whole and don't end up causing more problems than they solve.
That's the big question, isn't it? It's something that policymakers, researchers, industry leaders around the world are grappling with. There's this growing recognition that we need robust frameworks to guide the development and deployment of AI, especially as these technologies become more powerful and more widespread.
So what kind of frameworks are we talking about? What are some concrete steps we can take to make sure AI is a force for good?
Well, one idea that's gaining some traction is the concept of AI crash testing, like we do with cars to ensure safety before they hit the road. It's an interesting idea. Maybe we can dive into that a bit more after a quick break.
This is definitely a conversation we need to continue. Stay tuned, folks. We'll be right back to explore some of the solutions and strategies for ensuring responsible AI development, not just in Australia, but globally. So, before the break, we're getting into some pretty deep questions about AI and ethics. It's exciting to think about all the good AI could do, but also a little bit scary to consider the potential risks. You mentioned this idea of AI crash testing. What exactly does that mean?
Well, it's a pretty powerful metaphor, isn't it? Just like we wouldn't let a car on the road without making sure it's safe. We should be applying the same rigor to AI systems, especially those with the potential for widespread impact. Imagine a dedicated team of experts whose job it is to really stress test these AI models before they're released. They would be like ethical hackers, probing for vulnerabilities, testing for unintended consequences, basically trying to break the model to see where its weaknesses lie.
I like that analogy. It makes a lot of sense. It's like putting these AI models through their paces to make sure they're safe and reliable before we unleash them on the world.
Exactly. And of course, AI crash testing is just one example. There are many other approaches being explored, like establishing clear ethical guidelines for AI development, creating independent auditing bodies to review AI systems, and even embedding ethical considerations right into the algorithms themselves.
It sounds like there's no one magic bullet. We need a whole range of strategies to make sure AI is developed and used responsibly.
Absolutely. And it's an ongoing process. AI is constantly evolving, so our governance frameworks need to evolve too. It's a big challenge, but also an incredible opportunity to shape the future of AI in a positive way.
Well said. We've covered a lot of ground today. We've looked at what AI foundation models are, how they're impacting different industries, the potential risks and benefits for Australia, and the critical importance of both sovereign capability and responsible AI development.
It's been a fascinating conversation. I think it really highlights how important it is to have these discussions.
Absolutely. AI isn't some abstract technology that's off in the future. It's already here, already impacting our lives, and it has the potential to fundamentally reshape society.
And that means that everyone has a role to play. Whether you're a policymaker, a researcher, a developer, or just a concerned citizen, staying informed and engaged is crucial. The future of AI is being written right now, and it's a future that we all have a stake in.
Well, on that note, I want to thank you for joining us today. It's been a really insightful exploration of AI foundation models.
It's been my pleasure. And to our listeners, I'll leave you with this thought. The future of AI is in our hands. Let's work together to make it a future we can all be proud of.
Couldn't agree more. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. And until next time, stay curious and keep exploring.
All right.